What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coach Talk. I'm here with two wonderful people. On my right is Coach Trevis. TJ, how are you today?
I'm good, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We had our team meeting before this, so we got a lot knocked out on that. We have a grand reopening for the gym on Monday from today, which will be June 1st. So we got a lot to do. So we had that conversation earlier. And then Sharon on my left, Share Bear. What's going on today?
Not much.
Not much. We learned a little bit about Share Bear's past and the house that she used to live in here on our previous conversation before we got started. So that was super interesting that she lived near an area that used to be the gallows of Campbell County, apparently. So that's why Sharon is so dark sometimes. In case you were wondering, if you know Miss Share Bear, she's not dark at all. At any rate, we have an awesome conversation today because we're going to talk about exercises for longevity. One of the questions that we get a lot are, what exercise should I do for X, Y, and Z? And it's usually for abs or for stronger glutes, maybe not stronger glutes, better looking glutes,
better
probably. Yeah, better butt.
Love handles.
So those are the kind of questions that we get for specific areas. We're going to talk about exercises for longevity, meaning what exercises do we as coaches believe are the exercises you need to be doing to be able to live a longer and a healthier life, okay? Because I think that those are important distinctions to make. So we each picked an exercise. We're going to kind of just go around and explain what the exercise is, and we'll talk about them. So that's going to be fun. TJ, you want to kickstart us?
Oh,
because I know you like going first.
Gee whiz. All right, so I don't know. I kind of waffled back and forth, but I believe
you are a waffler.
Okay. I do believe that one of the exercises, so as I think about getting older in life, I think about how I can stay most functional to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I chose carries as the exercise because I want to be able to carry my groceries even when I'm 90 years old, if I'm blessed to live that long. So not that that's the only reason, but carries are really a very good exercise. There's a variety of different carries that you can do, so I would not get bored. I could do, waiter's carry or farmer's carry or suitcase carry. So, and if you do, one of the things I found out looking at those was how important those are for the central part of your body or your core. So I think, by having a strong core, it helps you remain upright. It helps your strength overall, your fitness. You increase your work capacity by doing carries as far as being able to continue to work for a long period of time at a good pace. And if you do heavy enough carries, you can maintain your lean mass because you'll get some muscle building, some hormonal release that you need to. And as we get older, we need to hold on to our lean mass longer, and hip stability. So the number one fear as you get older is that you will fall and fracture a hip, and your life expectancy from fracturing a hip is cut significantly because that's a very devastating, sometimes life-ending thing that happens. So by carrying, you can help with your hip stability.
Well, so that's a super, I love that one a lot, actually, because I would say I found that actually carries are the thing that's left out of pretty much 90% of programs. Like, you go to a gym, you don't see anybody doing carries at all. Number one, because it's kind of awkward because you're walking up and down, the weighted area with weights, with weights in your hands or doing whatever. So, but also I don't think that they are out in the public enough. But I would say that definitely, that group of exercises or movements are the group of movements that most people could benefit. Anybody, whether your goal is weight loss or strength or power or longevity or whatever it is, just general health, carries definitely is a movement group that everyone needs to put into their program.
Mm-hmm. I think that people, when they're doing carries, they don't appreciate what that exercise is actually doing for them. You hear clients say, why do you have me stick a weight over my head and down here? I'm feeling somebody's ripping me in two, and all of that. Or, even to farmers carries at each side, you can kind of understand.
Someone called them my arm lengtheners.
Yeah.
Right. So, they do also help with shoulders and all of that. And I think actually posture, if you do them correctly. Right. So I think that they by far, people don't appreciate that exercise because they don't understand it. It's not deadlifting. It's not jumping jacks. It's not. They don't understand that benefit until you start looking into it. And really, if you notice, you will feel what it's working. It forces you.
If you have a good enough weight.
Right.
Or you've walked long enough.
Right. So, time under tension. So,
yeah, I've had people say during like a suitcase carry, for example, say, what is this for? Where should I be feeling this? And I'll explain it, but I'll also, whichever hand they're holding it in, I'll say, poke your abs over here and tell me what you feel. And they say, they're hard. And I'm like, there you go. That's basically what it's doing.
It's making, well, they reference your inner tube. I never thought about this.
That's interesting.
But they talk about how that works without your body having a strong inner tube.
Deflated.
It's deflated.
It won't float.
And right. So anyway, that's why I chose. And then of course I want to be able to get all of my groceries into my house in one trip. And that is my ultimate goal every single week of my life is I got to be able to carry all these groceries
I thought
in.
that was just a manly thing.
No.
Unless it's like a weightlifter's thing, because I do it.
No, you want to get them all in on one. Yeah. Well, because I grew up down in Newport where you had steps that you had to climb up to get in. So you don't want to be making 100 trips
That's
up
the
and down.
ultimate carry right there.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what's your favorite carry?
I don't really have a favorite carry. I love them all. I love a goblet carry. I like farmer carries. I do have a goal to be able to farmer carry for a distance my body weight.
What would you define that distance as?
Well, I think that I'd have to build up to it because I haven't tested it yet because it's
sure.
right. So I would say you recommend because that's linked. Oh, and I forgot to talk about your grip. So farmer carries or carries help your grip, and grip is a sign of fitness and longevity now. So, and that's the first thing that fails on me in a carry is the grip. So I don't know, what is a recommended distance?
Oh, so I would say probably your body weight for, let's see, I'd say a minute.
Minute?
That'd be pretty serious.
Yes, that would be. And you'd have to work up to that. Now, it's your body weight, total. Split. Right, total. In both hands.
So half your body weight in each hand.
Right. So, anyway.
Shea-Bear, your favorite carry?
Probably, and I hate to say this, probably farmer's carry. Yeah. Because suitcase carry, I feel so off balance. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can this be so much harder than carrying two weights?
Because it's pulling you.
Farmer's carry just feels more comfortable. So I should really say suitcase carry because I feel like that's doing a lot of work. But if I had to choose one carry to do, I would choose farmer's.
I would say farmer's is definitely near the top of the list.
You get to carry more weight that way.
It's just fun. Yeah, right. You just get to carry weight.
It's like, I'm just carrying stuff.
I would say I've learned to really enjoy double rack carries.
Those are tough.
Those are tough.
They're tough because they compress your, especially when you're out of breath.
Yeah.
You have them up here, and if they're heavy weights, then they do compress your lungs, so it does make it challenging to breathe. But I think that's part of the challenge. If that's in a kind of masochistic kind of way, I guess.
Well, I need a second person because I can definitely. Well, right, because my rack carry, I can only get so much weight up here, and that's, I think I asked you that. I'm like, people can really carry more than what they can rack up on their shoulders. So how do you make that harder? And you just walk longer. Right. Yeah. So
while you practice racking up more weight.
Right, and break your.
It is a skill.
It takes a lot of practice.
Position.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool. So definitely Carrie is something that we all need to put in no matter what. Shea Bear, I know that everyone's going to be so excited to hear your favorite
Everybody
exercise
loves
for
my
longevity.
favorite exercise.
Mhm.
Get-ups.
Mhm.
So full Turkish get-ups is my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite exercises, even though like I complain about doing them sometimes because the weight's really heavy.
Mhm.
But I love doing them in general. One of the reasons I love them so much is because they do kind of pretty much everything in one. So you get mobility, stability, strength, you get all kinds of primal
Movement.
yeah, so the rolling,
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. I don't want to go into, that's why I'm stumbling
Pulling back a
here.
bit. No worries.
I don't want to go so far in depth, but basically a lot of your proprioception, essentially. So basically where you are in space, visuospatial,
There you go.
if anyone knows what that means. So, yeah. So that's one thing I love about them. Well, that's a lot of things I love about them. But also you're working in a lot of different planes of motion. So you're on the ground, you're in basically a hip bridge position, you're in a lunge position, you're in a standing position. So you're working through different ranges of motion. And then the fact that they just build so much strength because you notice your asymmetries, your imbalances with them.
Oh yeah.
You can really tell, like everyone who does a get up, you know, as soon as you're done, like, wow, that was so much easier on my left side or my right side.
Yeah.
That shows that you have asymmetries in your body, and that gives you an opportunity to work on those. If you have asymmetries, it's a lot harder to get stronger in general. So that'll help build your strength where your weaknesses are. And I really like that about them. They just show you. It's kind of mean, like they just show you what your weaknesses are.
Right.
It's a humbling exercise. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yes.
strong guys want to come in the door and they want to pick up a 40-pound kettlebell or a 44-pound kettlebell and they want to try and go at it, but then get thrown back on the ground because, like you said, I mean, it takes so many different stability points, so many different strength points
Yeah.
to
Shoulders,
be able to
hips.
get up off the ground, to be able to hold the weight over your head properly without it wobbling around, to be able to stand all the way up with that weight over your head. There are just so many different stability points as you stand up and then come back down.
Yeah, and I think it teaches you a lot too about slow, controlled movement, because if you try to do a get up fast, bad things are going to happen. So it teaches you to be mindful of everything in your movements, and that's important on every exercise, but on most of them, frankly, you can get away with not being mindful and not moving slow or controlled and be fine. But that one you can't. Like you have to focus. So, and I like that.
I would say if you took the average lifter in a gym, I would say most gym rats, whatever you want to call them, are bilateral lifters.
Right, that's another thing.
So bilateral lifter meaning that they're doing mostly exercises that are using both of the sides of their body at the same time.
Squats, deadlifts.
You
push-ups.
throw that at them, forget about it.
Right.
They're, like you said, they're going to definitely have their right side probably is going to be stronger than their left side, and it's going to be drastic probably for most people. So very humbling, and at the same time super important, because you need to be not in those compensatory patterns. If you're doing squats and your right side's doing most of the work, your body needs to be close to imbalance. It's never going to be fully imbalanced. But
yeah, I was reading about, because I wanted to not miss any of the benefits, and I was doing some research this morning on like the originality. Origin. Yes, thank you. I was like, where is this word?
we're going to keep playing this.
The origin of get-ups, and they used to use them to prepare for war.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I had never read that before, but I saw that and I was like, I can see why, because you build overall strength that way.
And I think it's great for longevity to be able to get up off of the ground.
Oh my gosh.
That is key,
Yes.
key.
Amazing how people over the age of, I'll say 45, and
Yeah.
maybe even 40, that come through the store who struggle to get off the ground without getting out of breath
Right.
or without having pain or something along those lines.
And that's just people who come through this door, you know.
That's not even.
There's people who feel like they're not even ready to step into a gym, who are even worse, hard to get off the ground and can't even get up from a seated position. So imagine you're 75 and you fall on the ground.
You're going to lay there till somebody finds you or you die.
Yep.
If you can't get yourself up.
That's a great point.
Yeah, hence the name.
Get up.
Get up.
All right, cool. So we have carries, we have get-ups, and then, so I think mine is going to surprise most people because technically mine isn't an exercise, right? So sprinting is what I said is going to be the thing that most people need to do more often. I partly picked it because I knew that y'all would pick weighted exercises, and I think that it just adds a good bit of variability. And I think it surprises a lot of people as well. So when I think about longevity, when I think about the word longevity, I think that it incorporates both quantity and quality of life. So most people think about longevity in terms of how long can I live? Can I live to be 85? Okay, sure, you can do that, but at 75, if you break a hip and then you can't move well for the next 10 years of your life and you need help from everybody else, is that, I don't want to say it's not worth living that much longer, but how good is that quality of life? Are you actually enjoying all of it, or most of it at least? So when I think about that, and I think about having both quality and quantity of life for as long as possible, I think you need a couple of things. I think you need strength. I think you need power. I think you need mobility. Off the top of my head. You need other things as well, but those are things that come to my head that people don't have. You need help getting off the chair because you don't have strength or power in your hips. You have trouble walking, you need a cane to walk around because you don't have mobility in your hips. Sprinting, not running, right? Sprinting takes care of those things, strength, power, and mobility. So what's the difference between sprinting and running? So running actually is a short, choppy range of motion of what it should be. Most people don't. If you look at a good marathon runner, Eliud Kipchoge is one who comes to mind. He's the guy who just broke the 2-hour marathon record. The only person to run a marathon under 2 hours.
Wow.
I know, super fast, right? That's insane. That's insane. If you look at his stride, he looks like a sprinter running a marathon.
Well, he's sprinting.
But he is. But if you look at the average person who just runs on the street and you look at their stride, it's not a stride. It's more of like a short, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. The knee's not lifting up, the heel's not coming to the butt. That range of motion is not in the hip. So really that's developing a short pattern. You're going to get tight hip flexors because of that. Your glutes aren't going to be strong because you're not kicking that leg back. So the range of motion that comes with sprinting, bringing the knee up high, kicking that leg back far so that you're actually building that range of motion into your hips is wonderful. Also, like I said, the power and the strength development that comes from it are important as well. So
now, would you recommend hill sprints or flat ground sprints more highly?
Or variety.
Well, so I'll start at the very beginning and say no one who has not sprinted in at least, 5 years should not go out and try and sprint at 100% because you will get hurt.
Yeah, you're guaranteed.
There's no doubt about it. You will get
Or
hurt.
you won't be walking the next day.
It's really probably a 12-week progression. If you decided to start and you haven't sprinted, I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70, I don't care how old you are. If you haven't sprinted in at least 5 years, you should start at a 60%. I'll call it stride. So it should be mimicking the range of motion of a sprint. You should be picking your knees up as high as you can. You should be kicking the leg back as far as you can, but you should not be trying to run as fast as you can. And then basically every other week, you should try and pick it up about 5%, 60%, 65%, 70%, 75%. So that the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles, the joints, all that stuff gets acclimated to that sprinting. Okay, that is super important.
Because that takes longer than growing the muscles.
Exactly. That is super, super important. With that being said, I would say that flat / slightly uphill sprinting is going to be more beneficial overall than uphill sprinting, because uphill, you can't really sprint uphill, right?
You lose some range of motion.
You lose range of motion, or it's a different range of motion. You don't get as much activation in certain parts of the hip if you're on a flat ground. It is different. And like I said, you can't run once you get to the point where you can actually do a sprint, you can't run as fast up a hill.
Right.
You're going to be running, no matter who you are, it's going to be 70% of your speed. So there's definitely benefits to both. I'm not saying that hill sprints definitely are worth doing. But if you're talking about most bang for your buck, a flat or a slightly uphill sprint so that you can still gain speed and get speed into it is important. Because like I said, it's for the range of motion and the power, both. So, thoughts?
No, I love sprinting over long distance running any day.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you can run from the bears and people chasing you when you get older.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you don't have people chasing
Well, you never know. You know how.
You can get up off the ground. If you fall down, you can grab your groceries and then you can sprint out the door.
Yes,
And you're ready to
exactly.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's awesome. Very.
That's all you need to do.
That's all you. Yeah, to live a long, healthy life.
If that's not functional, I don't know what is. What a great conversation that was, friends. Thank you so much for checking us out and checking this one out. I appreciate you being here. Go out and live a healthy, long life with these tips. We'll catch you next time.